I'm Mari.
And welcome to Spine and Ink. Huzzah!
Huzzah!
So today is our first official podcast episode. We have some YouTube already up, but today's podcast introductions. Take it away.
Yeah. Okay, so a couple things about each of us. I will start. I am a major cat lover. Between the two of us, we have 4.
Mm-hmm.
So they will most likely make an appearance if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're just listening, you might still hear them.
Yeah,
there's a
they
good
might still
chance they make
make
themselves
themselves
known. Anyway, if you didn't know, we are both sisters. So that explains a lot. And as far as other things about me, I'm pretty simple, easy to please, your basic cat, book, and coffee lover. So
Yeah. I mean, we share a lot of the same hobbies and things we like. 1, because we're sisters, and 2, that's probably why we're here talking about this.
Yeah.
Love books. Love my cats. I'm a videographer, so I do a lot of that on the side for my real life job. So that's really fun. And I just moved back here recently. I lived in Chicago for a bit, so that was cool.
We're from
Yeah.
Colorado. If
Yeah, we're
that's
from Colorado.
Not clear either.
And that's really, I mean, there's like nothing else
There's
about
not much to say.
me.
Like, we're very simple people.
Yeah. I love movies, watch a lot of movies, and watch a lot of TV shows. Well, maybe that's not true. I watch more movies than I do TV shows, but yeah. We love to travel,
Yeah, that's a big one.
so you'll definitely be seeing that. And that's kind of it for me. Anywho,
So our little fun facts about
fun
ourselves.
facts.
As far as why we're here doing this YouTube and podcast, you were kind of more. Sorry. So Meg is more the one that started this whole thing. We are now like, oh my god. As far as why we're doing this podcast and YouTube channel, Meg was more the one that got it started. We're both big book nerds. Her more than me. We'll get into that in a minute. And kind of our journeys in a second. But it's kind of something that like I've seen become a bigger community recently, as far as like social media, BookTok, Bookstagram, YouTube, all of it. And so I think it's really cool to share that interest, even if it's through a camera or through, Spotify or wherever you're listening. So more into that. Do you want to kind of talk about it more?
I have wanted to do something like this for a really long time, and we've talked about doing something like this for a really long time. I listen to so many book podcasters and watch so many book YouTubers and like have been involved in BookTok for so long that this is something I really wanted to do, and then the opportunity kind of arose for us to actually get it started through a friend of ours. Shout out Ray Bailey.
Shout out Ray Bailey.
And so we kind of threw ourselves in head first. So now we're here. Start of the year, starting a whole new thing, and we talk about books literally constantly.
24/7.
So why not?
Makes sense to
why
make
not
all of you part of the conversation.
let everybody in on it. So that's why we're here.
Yeah. So now kind of going into like our bookish journeys.
Reading journeys.
Do you want to start?
I can start.
Perfect. Cool.
So my reading journey, it kind of sounds lame sometimes because I was a big reader as a kid, and I was always a really big reader as a kid. I flew through books when I was younger, big book nerd, and then I got into high school. I think it was more like end of middle school into high school, and I was like, now I'm being forced to read, and now it's not fun anymore, and I don't want to do it. So I just didn't really read all that often. There was books I read for school that I enjoyed, but I was more of a Spark Notes kind of girl, and I didn't really read, and I hated it. And then I was in college, 2020 rolled around, and COVID hit, obviously there was like nothing to do. And I had a friend introduce me to, oh my gosh, A Court of Thorns and Roses. Gasp. Which is why it feels kind of lame, because I think a lot of people's reading journeys start that way.
I don't think it's
with
lame.
Sarah,
it's just relatable.
Yeah, just relatable. Maybe that's better. But Sarah, she just really did it for me. And so I plowed through the ACOTAR series. At that point, Silver Flames wasn't released yet.
That's wild.
Yeah, so as you can see here, this is my copies of the books that are well loved. I have now read this series 3 times. And yeah, so I have like the original prints. So I do my claim to fame is through that I like read it very early on. So yeah, I read that whole thing, and then that was it for me. It just kind of went on from there. Yeah. I don't know, there was no looking back after that. I was so obsessed, and then got into, I think my second book I read after that might have been Red, White, and Royal Blue.
That's such a good one.
I think that was my first,
I didn't realize you read that like so early on.
Yeah, I think that was like my first romance was Red, White, and Royal Blue. And then I read the whole Throne of Glass series, and then, so Sarah really started it for me in 2020, and now here we are, 5 years later.
Ah, that's crazy. Oh, that's just wild to me that you're like, well, I started it before Silver Flames was out. I was like, I honestly, like, other than you talking about it very briefly, did not know it existed until after it became popular. Sorry, guilty. And so that's kind of like wild for me to fathom.
Yeah, I have a tattoo for that series.
Was a time.
Obsessed.
Okay, girl. She said, actually, this
obsessed.
Is my fame.
Yeah.
Wild. See, and mine's like not nearly as fun. I hated reading literally forever and ever and ever. Like, back in elementary school, even then, like, I learned how to read. I was fine at it, and I said, but this isn't fun. I did not like it. There was
graphic novels for a little bit.
Yeah, for like a tiny baby bit there.
Yeah.
But then as soon as we started reading for school, which like started very early on, as we all probably remember, I was like, okay, well, now this is just something you do for school. This isn't a fun thing. Like, I could not fathom how people enjoyed reading for fun. And you tried to get me to read, like, what's the one with the cats? Warriors, right?
Oh, yeah.
You tried to get me to read Warriors because I love cats. And so she was like, oh, you'll love it. You'll love it.
Oh, yeah.
Could not do it. Tried to read Harry Potter, and I was like, this is too wordy. I can't do it. And I didn't like it, which is stupid because I love the movies. I am, again, one of those people that's like, well, I've seen the movies, and I never read the books. So on and on and on, all the way even through high school, hated it. Like, really strongly disliked it. My junior and senior year of high school, I think it was just the teachers that I had and the classes that I was taking that I kind of was like, okay, I could maybe get behind it, maybe if it was like something really interesting to me, but I had to be like really into it, and I just never really found stuff that I was like that interested in. So then fast forward to like spring semester when I did go to college. I met a couple friends that were really bookish. They were reading 24/7, and I was like, oh, I really want to like it. Like, I want to like it so bad. And my sister and my mom, major readers, so I was like, oh, maybe I should just try again. And I read Verity by Colleen Hoover, which I am not a big Colleen Hoover girl, but I was like, well, I like true crime and like mystery kind of stuff, but like romance might be something that actually holds my attention long enough. Read that book and I was like, damn, this actually is kind of really fun.
Well, that book is also just
but
really
that book
good.
is just really good. Like, I really strongly dislike Colleen Hoover, but it was good. Okay, I'm sorry. It was a good book.
No, it is. It's good.
But then again, I still wasn't like 100% sold. I was like, okay, this one book was really good, but like, I don't know. And then I read Beach Read by Emily Henry, and I said, oh, actually, I love literature. I love reading. See, I'm sold. And now here we are.
Harry Potter's crazy to me. What year was that? Wait,
that was, yeah. Okay, so backing up, I'm 20.
I'm 23.
There we go. So this was very beginning of 2023. Very beginning of 2023.
Oh, so you've only been reading for like
I've only been reading for
2 years.
yeah,
Oh,
for 2
baby
years.
reader.
Baby reader. So yeah, I'm a baby reader. So most everything that I've read is romance, just because it's such a good genre. And again, like it has to be very specific things to hold my attention. And sometimes like mysteries or straight fantasy or things like that take too long with the world building. Like I have to get into it like right then and there. And so we're working on that. I need to broaden my horizons.
No,
We're
we'll
working
get
on
there.
it. So.
But Harry Potter's crazy to me that you never read any of them, because when I
know.
was little, tiny, that was like the first book I really, really remember reading with our mom.
Yeah.
'Cause she read the first Harry Potter to me before I was allowed to see the movie, and then read the second one before I was allowed to see the movie, so on and so forth. I had to read the book before I was allowed to see the movie.
She tried to be that way with me, but when you have an older sibling,
yeah, it's
makes
kind
it
of tough.
makes it a little hard. When she was like, "No, well, your sister read the book, so I'll take her to go see it." And how long did that last? Not long at all.
No.
Not
So
long at all.
we watched them all, but
Yeah.
I read the Harry Potter books. I remember when I started reading them by myself, and mom didn't have to read them anymore. And the last, no, not the last book. No, maybe it is the last book. I don't remember. But when Hedwig dies, if you haven't read it, too bad. It's been out for 50 million years. But
Gas.
sorry.
Spoiler warning. Jeez.
When he dies, that was the first time I ever cried over a book. And I was in the middle of class, and I was so upset. Like, so upset in
Distraught.
5th grade. And I was, like, in the corner, maybe 4th grade. And I was, like, in the corner reading Harry Potter, and I'm crying. And my teacher was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "It's really sad. I don't know what's happening to me." So, yeah, that was the first time I
There you go.
cried over a book. It was Harry Potter.
Real. And now I'm trying to think about that as you said that. It's kind of unbelievable to me that I haven't read them either. Now it's like, okay, it'll be a big deal like when I go back and read them for the first time.
Yeah, they're good, man.
Obviously, like I love the movies. I've watched all of them a million times over. Our whole family just like loves those movies. So I will say it's not going to be the same as if I read the books before seeing the movies. But I already know like all of them.
You know, I do think it's kind of good in some ways, because
I mean, there's a lot that's not included. Like,
yeah,
I do
the
know
movies
that.
stray from the books in some pretty significant ways.
Yeah.
Not in any ways that have ever bothered me,
Right.
but it is pretty like significant.
Yeah.
So if you won't be like upset about it now, going back and reading it, you won't be mad. So maybe that's
maybe
like
it'll
a
be a
good
good thing.
I don't know. I was so young that I didn't even process that they were making huge changes. It like didn't upset me enough because I was a fan, but I was just a kid. So
fair enough. Fair enough. That's valid. That makes sense.
Now, if they made Warriors, that would have been a different story.
I mean, everyone was obsessed with that series when we were younger.
Mm-hmm.
Like all of my friends loved it. Everyone loved it. I just hated reading so much that I didn't love it.
They wrote another series too, or that same author wrote another series called Seekers.
Oh, I heard about that one too.
And it was about, what are they? Polar bears?
Oh my gosh. She
I
said,
loved that one too.
Let me tell you about Seekers. I also remember people loving that one. I don't know. I was like so against reading.
It's okay.
There was nothing you could do that would sell me on it.
It's okay. A lot of people are
not
like
a single thing. But now that you mentioned, you were like, well, that's the first time a book made me cry. I was like, ooh, what book was that like first made me cry, like early on? Favorite genres, which, I mean, I already kind of mentioned this a little bit. But for me personally, romance is like the genre that I read right now. I need to branch out. But that is like my main genre. I just love it. I think that so many people like bash on the genre they think, like, I feel like every time I read a romance book in public, I'm like, oh, I'm just reading a silly little romance. Or if anyone's like, oh, what book are you reading? What's your book about? I'm like, oh, nothing. It's just romance. Because, like, I know I'm going to be judged.
No,
but
that's sad. You shouldn't be
no,
judged.
but that's the thing. It's like, I don't think I should be, but it's kind of just like the way that the genre is portrayed and, like, understood from people that don't read.
Yeah.
Like, people that aren't avid readers, I think, tend to be like, oh, okay, so, like, bored housewife books. But I'm like, no, there's so much more to them. And especially romantasy. Like, now I'm starting to get into the romantasy side of things.
Yeah, that is my genre.
Yeah. So, romance and romantasy, I'm like, you guys are not giving the authors enough credit. I saw a TikTok and someone broke down, like, the percentage of, like, these books and, like, what percentage was smut. Because everyone's like, oh, so you just read smut. I'm like, no. Well, yes, but no. There's more to it than that.
Yeah, there's only,
it's like maybe 3% of the book. Maybe like 2.5% of the book. At most 5. Like, it's really not that prominent. And authors like Rebecca Yarros and, like, Sarah J. Maas and, like, all these people being labeled as smut authors. I'm like, no. So,
like, they're good at that.
Yeah, they're really good at it, but that's not what the book is about.
Yeah.
So yes, like, I love my romance and I love to, you know, say I love my silly little rom-coms, but, like, I would fight tooth and nail for the genre. So that's where I'm at. I want to read more mystery, thriller, horror. I'm a big true crime fan. Meant to say that in the beginning. Like, I love my true crime podcasts. I think it's super fascinating. And so if I could read a book that's adjacent, then I could so get behind that. Any of, like, the morbid, creepy, I don't know what it is. I eat it up. I love it. So.
Yeah, romantasy is definitely my top genre. I want to get into more, like, epic fantasy. But it's hard sometimes. I really love the relationship aspect. If it doesn't have a relationship, I feel a little bit let down. But
something's missing here.
Yeah. So romantasy is definitely my top genre. And then I think I went through a phase where I was reading like mysteries or thrillers a lot, kind of at the same time or at the same level that I was reading romance. And I think it kind of sticks that way. Mystery and thrillers are harder to come by sometimes that I really enjoy just because they can get really repetitive. But I mean, the same goes for every genre, so it just kind of depends on the mood I'm in. I like biographies, or like that kind of nonfiction, but only if it's an audiobook. Like, I only want to listen to somebody tell me their life story.
Yeah.
Like, I listened to Tom Felton's book last year.
Oh, you did?
And he reads it, and it was really good? Yeah, it was really good.
Okay.
And I listened to Jeanette McCurdy's book last year. That one's really good.
Both of those are on my TBR.
Yeah.
I need to listen to
them. They read both of those. And then I read, like, another, it was like self-help, but it was more like about this woman's life or whatever. But she read it.
Which one?
Tired as fuck.
Oh, okay.
It was really good.
Gasp.
But yeah, she read that one. There was another one that I listened to that somebody themselves read. I can't remember, but I like it when the author reads it. Just feels, I don't know, better to me.
Yeah.
But anyways, romantasy is definitely, that's my thing. That's where I feel the most at home.
Yeah. Valid. You've gotten me really into it. Which, like, I already knew I was gonna like it. I already knew. Oh my god, okay. Confession. It's confession time. I may have hated reading for the most part, but back in, like, COVID era and even a little bit before, I was a big fan fiction girly. And so I was like, I could read a lot of fan fiction. I could read fan fiction all day long. Anything else, I was like, nah. So I kind of knew. I was like, okay, romantasy, romance. I was like, obviously that'll be my genre. Obviously. But yeah, oops.
I read a lot of fan fiction when like
some of it's really good.
When
like,
BookTok was like going on, when BookTok was a whole thing.
Oh, don't even get me started. Don't even get me
I
started.
read the fan fiction. Like, that was a big deal.
So many people did, just not that many
yeah.
people talked about it or would admit it.
It was really good.
But come on, y'all,
But
we
I
all
haven't-
did.
But I haven't read Manacled yet. Still,
I haven't either.
it's on my
I'm
list.
kind of scared too.
I'm gonna do it. I'm really excited for it actually, but it's just I have to find the right time because that
Yeah.
book is so long
Yeah,
that it has to be
it's a commitment.
yeah, it has to be at the right moment
Yeah.
for me to commit to reading it. And I have to
Yeah.
and I am excited about it, but I need to be like jazzed. If
Right.
that makes sense.
That makes sense. I have a couple books like that where like I have books that I didn't really love, but I think it was just kind of like the time that I read them, or books that I am waiting to read, but I just like no, it's not the time yet, and that's
Yeah.
one of them. It's a commitment for sure. My next topic is favorite authors and our favorite books of theirs, and then favorite books overall.
Okay.
So, favorite authors,
Okay,
go for it.
Sarah J Maas.
hands down.
Love her. I think she's like my favorite author ever. Sarah J
Fair.
Maas, Maas, however you say it. I hear both ways. Rebecca Yarros, unfortunately, queens in my eyes. Emily Henry, Hannah Grace. There's gotta be more in there that I'm not thinking of, that I've read multiple of their books.
That's my issue. I'm like I've read one of. a lot of
I
people's.
really like the one book I've read of Abby Jimenez, but I don't know. It's just Sarah for me. It's always
Yeah.
gotta be Sarah
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah. I have only read A Court of Thorns and Roses. Like, that's my only series of hers that I've read so far. I loved it. Don't get me wrong, but I just, like, haven't read enough to say, like, yeah, she's one of my favorites.
Yeah,
So.
I feel like you won't understand it until you read Throne of Glass.
Yeah. I haven't started it yet because it's daunting. It's so daunting.
It is. It took me a year to read.
Don't say that.
It's okay. I split it up. Like, I read things in between.
Right.
And that helped a lot.
Right. Which I'll eventually,
And the
like, I'll
last
have
book
to.
is almost 1,000 pages.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. Oh, it's so worth it. It's the best book ever. The entire universe. Yeah. Out of those authors, favorite books of theirs.
Mm-hmm.
Throne of Glass, that whole series, but specifically Air of Fire from Sarah is, I just love that book. I don't know. I just love that book so much. And then Emily Henry, Beach Read will always be my top, but I just recently read Funny Story, so that's really top of mind. And yeah, that's probably my favorite from her. Icebreaker from Hannah Grace. I think that's the best one out of that series.
Oh, 100%.
I don't know. No, that's my favorite.
I don't know. Maybe I just, like, really related to both of them in Daydream a little bit. Like,
I liked Daydream
there
too,
was, like,
but
bits and pieces of both
Icebreaker.
of them that I was just, like, really, really relating to. So I think, like, that made it a little bit different for me.
No, that's fair. Icebreaker, so good,
So
good. And yeah, that's kind of all I can think about right now.
Yeah, that's fair. Now you got me thinking, because I'm like, ooh, how many authors have I really read, like, multiple of their books, or enough to say, like, make a judgment? Rebecca Yarros is just, like, that woman has my whole heart. One of the books that, like, really, really got me back into reading was The Things We Leave Unfinished. And now I have made my entire family read it, like, extended family.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone I speak to, I'm like, you have to read this book. That was the first book I ever cried over. It was so good. So good. Some of her other, like, contemporary romance books aren't my favorite, but they're still really good. And she knows how to do a plot twist.
Yeah.
My girl knows how to do a plot twist. So I just love her. But Fourth Wing and that whole series, like, we're very basic in our opinions. But I mean, they're popular for a reason. They are popular for a reason. And so I'm just gonna go, like, author then favorite books of theirs, author then favorite books of theirs. So my favorite books of hers, obviously The Things We Leave Unfinished is like my favorite contemporary that she's written. But Fourth Wing, I just finished Onyx Storm. We're gonna get back into that in a minute. And I think Onyx Storm has to be my favorite of the series. Like, obviously, Fourth Wing is like the first of this series. It's when you get to know everyone. Like, that will hold a special place in my heart forever. But Onyx Storm, I don't know. God, I don't know. I just loved it. I loved it a lot.
Hey, you know?
So I think The Things We Leave Unfinished and Onyx Storm are my two favorites from her. Emily Henry is a really big one for me. Beach Read, like I said, was like the book that got me back into reading. That was like, okay, I actually understand now. That book just holds like such a special place in my heart. I think it was also the timing. Like, when I read it, I just really needed that book. And so Beach Read will forever hold a special place in my heart. I love all of them. Funny Stories, so good. I am a big New Girl lover, and I feel like that book is really New Girl coded. So
it is.
that I knew I was gonna love it. Allie Hazelwood, I'm starting to read more of, and I really like her characters. I don't know. I just think that she writes really good characters. All of her like female main characters I've really liked. Not in Love was just like cute. Like, just I really enjoyed it. But I've only read a couple, so I can't really say anything yet. She has another one coming out on the 9th, I think. 9th?
Yeah, soon.
Ooh, never mind. It's probably not the 9th. She's another one coming out soon that I already pre-ordered because it's going to be a sports romance from her, which is unexpected, but I'm excited. So I will keep y'all posted on how I feel about that one. The tropes just weren't my favorite, but the fourth one was so good. Play Along was so good. And then I'm really sad because the fifth one is going to be the last one in the series, but it's about a character that we've all said the entire time needs his own book, so I'm very, very excited about that one. Yeah, so those are probably my favorites as of right now, but I'm sure that'll change as I read more. I'm going to find some other authors that I really love, but that's kind of where I sit for right now. So, yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Fell in love with them so young that now it's just super nostalgic, and I love reading that book. It's a super easy read. Multiple POV romance. So I should have known from the get that was going to be my thing.
Should have known.
Kingdom of Ash, Sarah J. Maas. The last book of the Throne of Glass series. One of my favorite books ever. I have never, ever, ever cried harder and been more empty after finishing a book. Court of Mist and Fury. Yeah, Court of Mist and Fury.
As you should.
For some reason, I thought that I was wrong. Is another one of my favorite books of all time. The Things We Leave Unfinished. Rebecca Yarros, one of my favorite books of all time. And my last one, I actually need to double check the author's name because I always forget. And then this one wasn't actually a 5-star read for me, but it is one of my favorite books I think I have ever read, and it's Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter. I think about that book every day of my life.
Every single day.
Every single day. That's thriller, and it's like kind of traumatizing. Like, it scared me, but it was so good, and I think about it all the time. So that just, for me, it's gotta be one of my faves.
That makes sense.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about Christina Lauren. What the heck?
I did too.
I've read
but I've only
so many Christina Lauren books.
I've only read 3, but I loved all of them.
I've read almost all of them. I think my favorite one from her is Twice in a Blue Moon.
I still haven't read that one.
That one's really good.
Twice in
a Blue Moon.
It.
But I also loved True Love Experiment.
Oh, that one is so good.
I think that also is one of my favorite books
good.
of all time is True Love Experiment.
I read that one recently, like really recently.
Busy.
And I loved it. I loved it so much. Good. Favorite books of all time, definitely The Things We Leave Unfinished. Like, I will die on that hill. I will not stop until every single person I know has read that book. Yeah, I will never shut up about it.
That book's incredible.
I will say it definitely, like, has a lot more impact when you have a sister or, you know, a sibling in general. So I think that does, like, have a big part in it, I will say. But no matter who you are, like, unless you don't have a soul, it is such an impeccable book.
Unless you're soulless.
Unless you're
heartless.
soulless, unless you actually have no heart, it's one of the best books ever written.
It is true, though. It's a masterpiece.
It is a masterpiece. Again, it's like tropes and topics and things that I normally would not pick for myself, like in any form of media, like TV show, movie, book, whatever. And I had seen it on TikTok, guilty, a couple of times, and I was like, okay, I guess I'll try it, and my life was permanently altered. I will never be the same.
Yeah,
So
that one's really good.
it's so, so good. Honestly, any of Emily Henry's books, just put them all on the list.
Put them all.
Beach Read specifically, I keep bringing it up, so that goes without saying for like so many reasons. But just all of her books, when I tell people about romance or anyone is like, oh, I want to start reading romance, I'm like, okay, start with Emily Henry, because I feel like her books are like, for people, like I said, that are thinking, oh, well, romance doesn't have that much plot, it's just smut, it's just this, it's just that. I'm like, no, this is a good place to start. That'll kind of teach you otherwise. And then if you want to go down the rabbit hole of like Kindle Unlimited books that are just smut, then knock yourself out. But
which those eat up.
I mean, those eat too. Yeah. I love them. I love them
too.
But I'm not gonna like start anyone with that to give them like their first impression.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to hand them like Anna Huang or like Neon Gods.
I love her. I love Anna Huang, but
yeah. Or you've never read Neon Gods, have you?
No, I haven't.
That whole series.
But isn't that Katie Robert?
Yeah.
I read Dark Succession, so her like mafia.
Oh, okay, okay.
Only the first book.
Neon Gods, that whole series, I've only read the first one, but is like Greek mythology, Greek gods.
Yeah.
That book is crazy. So, yeah, I would never want to hand somebody that. Emily Henry's a great place to start.
Yeah. So I feel like that's like a really good place to start, and those hold a special place in my heart just because I read a lot of Emily Henry like very early on in my reading journey. Just because you loved her so much that you were like, okay, well, you have to read Emily Henry. And it was a great start. I really loved, by Lauren Asher, the Dreamland Billionaires series, but specifically Terms and Conditions. That book I have reread multiple times already. I loved it the first time I read it, and I've loved it like the fifth time I read it. So I don't think that's ever going to change. Icebreaker has a very special place in my heart because I read it early on, and that was a buddy read with some friends, and so
that's such a good buddy read.
I mean, it wasn't like a buddy read, well, kind of. They had all already read it, and then one of them was like currently reading it while I was, but we were all able to like talk about it during, and my friends and I would always like read together, and so they were at least there for it, so it kind of felt like a buddy read, but it was so fun to be able to talk about it with other people. And a lot of people bash that book and are like, it has no plot, it's just smut. But no. I feel like it's such a good representation of like a healthy relationship. And Nate Hawkins will forever be
also that's like
the
just
goal,
so what college is.
And it's so college. It's so college. So I read it while I was still going to school, so while I was in college. So I think that also was a big part of it, where I was like, oh, this is just so college. Going off of Icebreaker, I really loved Daydream, but that one was because of the characters. I think like I related to both of them a lot, like so much while I was reading the book. Both of their POVs, they would just like even think something and be like, oh my god, I've had that exact thought. I feel the same way about this, like, you know, any part of it I could relate to a lot. And then hang on, so I said I love the Windy City series. Did I say that in authors or did I say that for books?
Yeah, you said that in authors.
So I said Liz Tomford, but I specifically really loved The Right Move, the second one. Mm-hmm. And I keep saying you need to read that book.
Yeah, I know.
You love basketball, and he's a basketball player, and Ryan Shea, again, set the standard so high.
I will read it eventually, I promise.
Those, I think, are like my favorites of all time. I recently listened we were on a road trip, and I listened to West with Giraffes, which is historical fiction. Again, not usually my thing. But that was a really good book. I really loved that one. Our current reads.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, and one of these is probably going to be added to the list. I haven't sat with it long enough. I need to sit with it and then it'll work its way up the ranks. I'm sitting with it.
Wait, which one?
Onyx Storm.
Oh.
I have to sit with it for a minute, and it'll be added to the list. But sometimes I have to mull it over.
You put it on your list of
I said it was like one of my favorites of Rebecca Yarros's, but like favorite books of all time. I didn't put it on that list yet.
Okay, so I just finished Onyx Storm literally yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I finished it a few days before.
Yeah, so I just finished that. That was ridiculous and so awesome. And then I also just finished Funny Story. Like I said, I listened to that one in a day. I
Correct.
also am just about to finish Crown of Midnight, which is the second Throne of Glass book. I'm in my Throne of Glass reread. So I was just in a really big slump last year. And
after Iron Flame, the entire year we were in a slump.
Yeah, now we're starting over. But
yeah.
But I was just in such a big slump and I haven't read Throne of Glass since I started it, like the end of 2020, finished it end of 2021. So it's been a long time since I've read those books, and I don't know. I was like, it's time. It's time for me to reread them. Yeah. I love those books, but it's probably going to take me a while because I'm kind of splitting them up. But anyways, I am like right at the end of that book, which I'll be finishing before we head on vacation, end of the year. And that's all I have on the currently reading docket. Right?
Vacation end of the year.
End of the week. Oh my gosh. I said go on vacation end of this week. Not end of this year. End of this
girl,
week.
What?
Yeah, it's going to take me a year to finish 20 pages. No.
Gasp.
Yeah, before we go on vacation, I will finish that. And then I have a list, a TBR for vacay, but we'll talk about that.
Okay, yeah. I was going to say, upcoming reads is on the docket, so we'll get to that. I also just finished Onyx Storm, which I am still processing. I'm still mulling it over.
Yeah, I'm still angry. I woke up angry.
Yeah. No spoilers in this episode.
Yeah,
this is intro. But I went to sleep angry, woke up angry, and that's been me for the past like 3 or 4 days. Whenever I finished it, I've been angry since. I just started today, Serpent in the Wings of Night. Which I'm very excited about. I've heard so many good things, but it's really hard because my brain is still in another fantasy realm. I have not left Navarre and Basgiath yet, so I'm still there. My brain is still sitting in Orisha. Yeah. I'm not here yet. So it's kind of hard for me to like start a new fantasy book and like really be into it yet. But I'm getting there. I'm gonna get there. Because I told myself, I was like, you're not going to be in a slump like you were after Iron Flame. That's not acceptable. That was unacceptable. Will never happen again. So here we are. But we're about to go on vacation, so I'll bring a few with me and see. And then what did I finish right before Onyx Storm? Oh, I also read Variation, which is Rebecca Yarros's most recent contemporary. And like, it was good. It was good. But I think the fact that I was reading it around Onyx Storm is I was just like getting whiplash from this other book and then trying to read just like a contemporary after, and she still like did her Rebecca things, had a hella plot twist, like it was good, but I just was not fully in it. Like I feel like I did not read it at the right time. So that kind of caused some issues, but that was a me problem. So we'll see what I end up reading soon. I don't really know what I'm gonna read. Do you know?
On
your
vacation?
Upcoming reads? Yeah. Have you picked yet? I'm usually a mood reader. I kind of am just like, I feel like reading this. I feel like reading that.
I believe on vacation I will be bringing Air of Fire because I know the second that I finish Crown of Midnight, I'm going to want to hop into the next one.
Right.
And I will probably finish that book literally today if I have the time.
Naturally.
Yeah. If not, I'll like finish it tomorrow. But then I'll bring Air of Fire. I think I'm going to listen to Assassin's Blade. I've never actually read it, so I'm gonna try and kind of read it in tandem with Air of Fire, like listen to it. But those are kind of on the back burner. I'm bringing my Kindle vacation, so I will be trying to read the whole Daughter of No Worlds series, Chris Broadbent. Also, the same author as Serpent and the Wings of Night, but I read all those books, so but I've heard such good things about Daughter of No Worlds, so I'm gonna try and get through like that whole series in the week we're on vacation. Yeah, Daughter of No Worlds is the first book. It's The War of Lost Hearts.
Okay.
That's the series.
Okay.
Carissa Broadbent. Yes, girl. Yeah, I read the last time we were on vacation, I read Serpent in the Wings of Night. I read the whole first book in like a day.
Real.
And then I read the entirety of Fourth Wing.
Oh my gosh.
In another day.
That is true.
So that was like almost 2 years ago. So
I will definitely like be in the middle of reading Serpent in the Wings of Night just because I started it. I'm only like 10% of the way in. So that will be coming with me. We leave in like 3 days. So, and the next 3 days are going to be really busy. So that one will be coming with me. And then I kind of have to think, I'm like, okay, do I want to read like contemporary romance, like, you know, typical beach read? I could read beach read again. Do I need to? Probably not, but I could. But I might bring like one of my contemporaries with me because I have so many that I need to read. Or it might be time to start Throne of Glass. It might. I knew you were gonna have a good reaction to that. It might be time. I think, but again though, I really don't want to start it if I'm in a major book hangover because I'm not gonna appreciate it enough if I started at the wrong time.
No, but I think it'll get you out of a slump.
I hope so. I
think it will. Like, I really think so.
I think it will. I'm just like scared. Like, what if it doesn't?
I didn't think that anything.
And then I'm just like not liking it as much as I should.
No, I get it, but I didn't think that anything would ever top ACOTAR for me. Like, I really thought that nothing was ever going to compare ever.
Real.
And then I read Throne of Glass.
Okay, valid.
That is the most incredible series I've ever read in my entire freaking life, and
even the hand like got so. If you're just listening, you can't tell what she's doing. If you're watching, she just did this little like okay movement with the little microphone.
I'm excited. I love those books. They're, I don't know, man.
No words.
The thing is, I can't tell you anything.
I know. Okay, I appreciate that.
Can't spoil
Keep
anything.
your lips sealed. But I don't know. Like the time is coming to start it, so it's up to me to decide. Am I just gonna do it? Or am I going to keep putting it off? I don't want to keep putting it off. I'm just, like, scared if I start it, like, too soon after I just finished this, like, big fantasy series that I'm, like, super invested in, then it's, like, I'm going to be comparing it, or I don't know. I'm just, like, scared I'm not going to like it as much as I should just because of, like, the timing. And Serpent in the Wings of Night, like, I think is a good one to follow.
That one's not crazy. That one is good, but it's not earth-shattering to me, personally.
Yeah, and like who knows, it might be to me, but it's just like hard because I still am like in this other mindset right now. So I don't know if I want to like finish this fantasy book and then hop into another like fantasy world again right after I finished Onyx Storm, which like was earth shattering to me. So I kind of just have to like plan it out. I don't know. TBD.
Yeah, we'll see. And maybe we'll come back and I will have read none of what I said I was going to. If I get there,
there's a good chance that happens.
Because I'm bringing the Kindle for a reason. Like, I want to read.
Yeah, I don't want to have to pack like
the War of
Hearts
series. But if I get there and I plow through like Heir of Fire or whatever, or I am just in a really big fantasy kick. Or if I am really hating fantasy and I totally want to switch, I can just read other Kindle Unlimited stuff that I want to read. But I don't know, I'm just really in my fantasy realm right now. I feel really safe in my fantasy bubble. So I'm going to stay in there as long as I can, I think.
I do have a book I really want to read. I really want to read Tender as the Flesh.
I can't do that.
I know. We've had this conversation, and I'm
happy for you.
I think I can because like my brain just like I don't know. I dissociate. I don't know what happens with like horror or even true crime. Like when I listen to podcasts and things, we've like had conversations about this, and I totally understand like why people can't do it. my brain just like cannot connect that something is real or like could be real. Or if I'm watching a horror movie, it really doesn't scare me that much because I'm like, ooh, I wonder how they made that. So if I'm reading like a horror or something like that, I'm always thinking about like the author writing it or something. Like it's something weird in my brain that is just
No,
like
that's not
makes it a lot
weird.
less scary or a lot less upsetting to me.
No,
So
that's
I
a good
feel
thing.
like
I mean, I don't think that's weird at all.
I don't know. I feel like it's a good and bad thing. And so I feel like I could totally get away with reading that on vacation, but I also am like, if it is deeply distressing to me, I don't want to be upset on vacation. I don't want to be deeply upset on vacation. But it's like it's a pretty short book from what I understand. And I think like it would be really interesting to read right now. It's like a dystopian, it's like a dystopian horror. So I think that'd be like interesting. But it's also again a matter of like, when am I gonna read that? Because I don't know how I feel about it. It could do absolutely nothing to me, and I read it and I'm like, wow, that was really good and not upsetting at all. Or I read it and I'm like deeply distressed. So do I risk it? I don't know. But that is one that like probably not on vacation, but like at some point soon I really do want to read.
Yeah, I can't read. No.
She goes, no.
I like thriller and I like mystery. I'm not necessarily in the horror realm of things. But I don't know, even like Pretty Girls, although I loved that book and I've loved a lot of other thrillers. I loved Verity and whatnot, but it like is kind of disturbing to me. I don't know.
It's totally valid.
And just hearing about eating people.
Yeah.
I don't think
so. Tender's the Flash.
I wouldn't be able to.
Is like dystopian society, where all animal meat is all animal meat is poisonous to people, and so it has to do with like cannibalism and like a cannibalistic dystopia. So,
yeah.
So moving on, kind of closing out just this little introduction episode today, we are going to be talking about Onyx Storm next week. Which, I mean, it's kind of weird to start, like, on the third book in a series, but it needs to be spoken about. Yeah. It needs to be talked about. We need to talk about it.
Yeah, if you've read the books, then you'll enjoy it. And if you haven't, then you'll just have to come back and watch that one later.
Exactly.
And that's,
Exactly. And we'll probably be talking about the Empyrean down the line somewhere in its entirety, but it'll be a good old reaction / rating /
our theories and thoughts. Yeah, so that'll be coming your way next week, and then from then on, we'll see where the wind takes us. TBD. But we'll keep you posted, and that's it.
Kind of all she wrote. That's all we had for today.
Anyways, with that being said, don't forget to like and subscribe and come back and watch us again next week, or listen wherever you are listening. If you are listening on a listening platform such as Spotify, please, don't forget to give us a 5-star rating if you feel so inclined. Please. And
we would really appreciate that.
We'll see you next week.
Okay, see y'all next week.